I think we can almost get started. Why don't we start? Gina, would you like to introduce yourself first, and then I can give my background?
Sure. So my name is Gina Villalona, and I'm the not course manager, the administrator for the scheduling portion for NYCPM, and I cover years 1 through 4, and we've done a great journey with Coursedog. But besides that, I have about 30 plus years in academia. I come from NYU Stern School of Business. And on that end, I was on the sales side and admissions and so on. And so now it's a great opportunity for me to learn the other aspect and side of academia, more in tune with the scheduling portion. And what a journey it has been. The journey has become even better now that we have Coursedog on hand. Justin?
That was perfect timing because my Wi-Fi went down right as you were, right as I tuned back in and my Wi-Fi came back. But
oh
Gina,
gosh,
thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Hey everyone, I'm Justin Wenig. I'm co-founder and CEO of Coursedog. My story started as a student at Columbia University when I got frustrated because there was a computer science class that I was not able to enroll in. Coursedog started as a student project, looking over the shoulders of administrators like many of you, watching this very tedious, painful, and error-prone process of developing a schedule and learning about all of the challenges that it takes to build a schedule given politics and other things of the sort to make a schedule that worked well for students. And I'm really grateful today to be joined by one of our partners, Gina, and to share with you folks a little bit about how we're helping institutions and also just to hear from each of you about questions that you have about the scheduling process as well.
Right.
And you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Ben Chester, Director of Partnerships at Coursedog. I come from a background, another company called Time Edit, which is actually the market leader in scheduling space in Europe. Coursedog acquired our US portion of the business earlier last year, which is how I joined the team at Coursedog. And so I've seen a lot of perspective on the scheduling side, particularly different institutions, how they handle, very manual and traditionally very time-consuming process of scheduling. So, I get a lot of my friends make fun of me because I'm pretty passionate about university scheduling, but it's one of those things that can get very nuanced and very difficult to pull off well. So we're really excited to help a lot of our partners do just that. So excited to jump in today.
Awesome. So a little bit for folks who are not familiar with Coursedog, Coursedog is, we really are a curriculum success platform. We help institutions to manage the entire life cycle of their curriculum, from proposal through to scheduling, through to availability to students via an online catalog and course search. Today, we're going to be really focused on the scheduling aspect of this, but just note that many of our partners also use us to manage the whole curriculum life cycle. Our bread and butter, though, and where we got started is scheduling. And so this is the topic that we are very passionate about. I'd love to start, Gina, would you like to share a little bit about NYCPM and sort of what the institution looks like and how scheduling looked sort of before Coursedog?
Oh, absolutely. Great question. So prior to Coursedog coming on board, the world of scheduling was covered via Outlook, and we had 4 different calendars running simultaneously, plus a corporate calendar and a room calendar. So you can imagine the challenge it was to be sure that everyone was putting in their requests on the either first, second, third year calendars and not in the corporate calendar or the room calendar. So the frustration became obviously very frustrating because individuals were putting their events into the wrong portions of the calendars. There were double bookings. There were reservations that were being deleted. not intentionally, but just because of the nature of the beast. But once we got started, or we were introduced to Coursedog, I began to see the light at the end of the tunnel as far as scheduling it. Now, we started with Coursedog about almost a year and a half ago. And the first process was, of course, gathering all the information and so on. And then COVID hit. And then we were quarantined. So I had to put Coursedog on the back burner for a bit. But once we came back on site, I started to work very feverishly with Kristen to get everything back on track again. And as I progressed in getting all of the information and so on in, quickly realized that we did not have the traditional scheduling like most colleges and university have. However, that definitely has prompted me to begin to schedule the schedules on a more traditional basis. However, we've had training sessions with the staff here. They do seem to like it. They do like it. It's much easier to comprehend, easier to navigate. And I like it because now I'm sort of like in the back seat and saying, okay, you have this room or you don't have this room. Everybody else has owned their own part of the journey as far as entering the information and so on. And it's instantaneously. And the beauty of this entire process is one calendar you can look at and everybody can see across the board what is going on today, tomorrow, and so on, and all the rooms that are being used and so on. So with that, for me, has made my job a lot easier. But the whole process was quite daunting, learned a lot, and definitely I would suggest this program to other institutions because yes, it can make the entire process, because not only are you satisfying your staff in getting rid of the frustration of scheduling and so on, but you're also providing a more ownership tool to the students as well. You know, they can go in and submit a request for a room for an event and so on. Whereas before they had to go and fill out a form and then wait for it to be approved to see if the room was available and so on. But now everybody could just log in and submit their requests, and then I'm sort of like the chief scheduler. And I said, okay, you can have this room today and so on. You want to be fair to everybody across the board, of course. And especially in our institution where space is at a premium. You know, we have 2 large lecture halls and everybody wants to use it, obviously. So it's always being used. However, with Zoom has made it possible that everybody can share all of these spaces virtually, if you will. But the key factor here is in learning the process of Coursedog and learning all the processes, it definitely has streamlined our process and also has given more ownership to the other administrators to take ownership of their departments, and also giving the flexibility and also giving the students a sense of, okay, I can actually do this myself. I don't have to go and see somebody. I can just log on and submit the form. So that is what I found so far. There is more, of course, but I want to turn it back to Justin and see.
Yeah, no, I think that's extremely helpful, Gina. And I think a lot of the folks here are probably looking at their scheduling processes and thinking, you know, hey, there's so many benefits, obviously, of moving to any sort of end-to-end system. And, you know,
Yes.
Of course, uniquely handling sort of this section scheduling through to the room optimization and then the event calendar all in one platform.
Right.
I think a lot of schools love the idea of having a single source of truth, but the challenge I think that many folks face is the change management and really, you know, for example, in your case, where there were many disconnected calendars and data sources,
Yeah.
how did Coursedog help you? And how did Kristen and the Coursedog team sort of help you to navigate that journey of helping your campus to buy in and, helping to, transition to this digital system?
Well, that's a great question. And how it is that they helped is they helped, Kristen helped me to understand the system itself and how each portion really relates to each other. So the most challenging portion was getting the data from our end. And it wasn't a complete data either, because we had the bare minimum, and then I filled it in. Because now in filling in for the bare basics, it has made our site even more professional. Because when we tie in the academic scheduling portion, you can actually see all the information, the prerequisites that pertain to a particular course, and it's more hands-on instead of being buried in the course catalog, So I think that's pretty good, actually. And also too, you have a broader view of the faculty who come in year in and year out from other institutions to lecture. Now we have this running standardized place where we can input all of this information for the students to see as well. And so in gathering all the information was the hardest part, then putting it all together, and also to rethinking the entire process of how scheduling is done, right? There is a process. There is the flow charts, right? Where this course is being given on so-and-so date, who's going to approve it, and so on. And I like that, because there's constant accountability for every single step that is taken within Coursedog. Now, obviously there's a lot of work to be done still on the academic side. However, even though we're still working on that portion, the events portion is working beautifully. And we also have our clinic division that is also looking into developing their own scheduling system too, which will be separate from the college. However, it's all under the umbrella of Coursedog. And one of my long-term goals is also to get the course catalog and the student handbook on site as well, so that at the end, ideally, the entire package would be encompassed within Coursedog. And also too, teaching the other administrators was very simple, in comparison of what we had to go through with learning with Outlook and so on. With this is 1, 2, 3 steps. It's very easy to navigate the system and so on. So it's been a journey, but it's been an ever expanding journey that, at every turn of the day, I learned something different with Coursedog and pass that information on. So that's what it's been like.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so helpful, Gina, and I think that the last question I have is, how a lot of folks think about Coursedog, and they may be thinking about their faculty and how, not all faculty are going to, want to adopt a new system or are going to be, the most tech-minded people. How did Coursedog sort of help? You talked about having a simple interface, but how has the end user adoption of Coursedog looked, and how have folks, how have you been able to get buy-in from folks on the ground who may not be the most, tech savvy?
Well, I sit with them for a couple of hours or an hour or so, and I bring the the end user guide that Kristen provided for us on step-by-step instructions, and I just sit with them. And it doesn't matter how many times they'll call me and say, well, how do you know, how do you do this? I just step them through. And as far as faculty go, the faculty are not hesitant on learning or anything like that, but they have the administrators that take care of that for them. All they're interested is in what room am I going in, and is it available, But as far as the administrators go, who handle the other scheduling for the other departments, they have no issues whatsoever. I do have one faculty member that she's very hands-on, and she learned it very quickly.
Mhm.
So she did the entire department scheduling already. So it's a mixed bag. We have individuals like that person that's she takes control of her department, and then we have the others that need coaxing, and that's fine, because they also needed the coaxing when they were learning Outlook. Overall, it's been a headache that has been alleviated for the administration and for me as well, because now I have others that are doing more of the work that I was doing, which is fine too. But buying into the system was really not difficult at all, because it really did give us an outlet for the frustration that we were having in scheduling.
Mhm.
And now that we have it, it has begun to be more alleviated as time goes on. So Coursedog is definitely a terrific product, and I would definitely recommend it to other schools. Now, I don't know how other podiatry schools what they're using. Some of these other podiatry schools are affiliated with universities and so on, so I really don't know. However, taking on Coursedog definitely has leveled the playing field for us here in New York City to be more competitive with the likes of like NYU and Columbia and so forth, as far as giving the scheduling portion of the institution a more robust and more modernized scheduling platform. Definitely.
That's awesome, Gina.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was just gonna.
No, go for it.
I just say that's really good to hear that end users have been adopting it well, and it hasn't been too steep of a learning curve. I always use the story of my own mother, who's a faculty chair at a state school in Massachusetts, and she's the furthest from tech savvy that you could get. Even last night I got a midnight email from her freaking out about how to format a PowerPoint slide. So just to get you a sense of her level of comfort with technology, and she's always kind of our litmus test on Coursedog. I always just showing her the features, and it's something that she's not terrified of. So that's a good barometer that I think a lot of faculty might struggle with certain technology, and we try really hard to make sure Coursedog's intuitive, easy, and
it's very easy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very easy. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think that was really great to hear, Gina. And I'm sure that for a lot of folks who are thinking about updating their scheduling business processes, that it's great to hear some of the results that you've been able to see. Mm-hmm. I'd love to for the rest of the portion today, I already see that we have lots of questions coming in, but I think I'd love to quickly talk about what our vision is here at Coursedog and where we're going to folks who are joining us on the chat, and then I'm going to give it over to Ben, who is going to actually show and demonstrate the product. Of course, as we go through this, feel free to ask questions, put anything in the Q&A. I see things are coming in through the Q&A, but also feel free to put it in the Zoom chat as well. Okay. Really quickly, just so folks who are joining us are aware, what Coursedog's vision really is to build one platform to manage workflows for higher education. So today we help a lot of these campuses, campuses like NYCPM or large systems like the City University of New York, and there are almost 300,000 students, to manage these business processes around curriculum, updating a course, sending it through a workflow, publishing it to a catalog, scheduling an event in a room. But our big vision and our newest solution, which we call Coursedog Campus, which is our form and workflow tool, is to help campuses to actually eliminate all of their PDF and spreadsheet-based processes. So for those of you who are interested, Coursedog now has the ability to handle change of major forms, things like graduation requests, and any other PDF-based documents that go through workflow in the exact same platform that you're actually going to see today. So just keep in mind, if you're a university and you're thinking about the vision for your campus, I think scheduling is one extremely important workflow or complex business process that at many institutions is traditionally handled by paper or spreadsheet. And our mission really here at Coursedog is to give you that one platform integrated with your systems that helps you to really streamline all these processes so that you can spend more time in the data and helping your students rather than in administrative, shuffling paper or worrying about data inaccuracies or things of the sort. So without further ado, I'll give it to Ben to sort of show how Coursedog helps with generating efficient and accurate workflows as a part of the scheduling process.
Great.
All right, thank you. Perfect. I'll just set up the screen share here. While I'm getting this set up, if anyone has any questions as we're going through this, a few ways we can do this. Feel free to post in the chat, or also you can raise your hand and we'll hand the mic over to you so you can post whatever questions might come up. So basically, the way Coursedog works, and Justin, I think, summarized it really well, where our goal is to eliminate all those paper, manual, PDF-based processes that most higher ed institutions are going through today. And so in order to do that, there's a lot of different verticals that we start to help with. Obviously today, we're going to be talking heavily about scheduling, how that coordinates with events and the academic schedule on campus. We do have a tight integration where we also are able to help with curriculum and catalog updates as well. And we're moving towards this all-in-one solution where really anywhere that you're inserting paper or PDFs today, we want to help make that easier and help alleviate the stress and complexity there. But let's just talk about, just starting with scheduling. The way Coursedog is structured, everything in your SIS system is going to integrate back and forth with Coursedog. The reason we do that is for a couple of reasons, but the main point is really just to make sure that we're providing a seamless and is a minimal data entry and data heavy setup as possible. So if we go into scheduling, for example, by having all that data related to your schedule, and this could be everything from from your room availability, it's your instructor list, it's your courses, the times those courses are offered. All this information around scheduling is all available in one bucket, and you can start to generate some pretty powerful reports from that. One of the things we do with a lot of our customers when we first start to onboard them is we'll actually take their data, populate it into Coursedog, and just start to show them the different types of insights that a lot of times are oftentimes fairly difficult to see. Like Gina, I'm sure when you came in as a customer, it was probably fairly difficult to see a lot of this information, like distribution of the times, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of this type of data, and I think back to my own mom, right? She's at a banner school where they have, a lot of this data is living in spreadsheets, which is always kind of difficult to visualize.
Mm-hmm.
And even simple things like what rooms are available when, or what's the utilization across different times of the day.
Right.
Really hard to see. I know a lot of the professional schools we work with, a handful of chiropractic schools that I think that might be similar to NYCPM are thinking about, where are students across the days of the week. You got to start thinking about coordinating labs and clinicals alongside your actual classes. It's pretty complex. And our goal again is to start making that whole process easier and start to visualize that data in a way that you can start taking some interesting insights from. And I know one thing too that it's kind of crazy. And I mentioned I came from another scheduling company before. So I've seen a lot of different institutions, not even just in the US, but across the world. It's always fascinating to me how hard it is to just see simple schedule data. You know, what's going on today in campus, right? And so Coursedog obviously gives a very easy graphical layout, which I know has been very helpful for you, right? See that source of truth.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And understand what's going on where, break it down by room and see specific rooms, you know, what's happening in every room. And for any of the folks, I know we have some current customers and also probably a lot of perspectives on today's call. Anyone who's interested in seeing their data in here like this, we'd be happy. We're doing a new service for all prospects where we'll actually load your data in and give you a walkthrough of it just like this. There's no cost for that. There's no commitment. You don't have to actually become a customer to take advantage of it, but we're happy to do this as a service for all the schools that we're talking with. So
that's a great idea.
Yeah. Hopefully we can give some of that value that NYCPM got and a lot of our current customers are seeing.
Absolutely.
And I know there's a lot of different use cases, but I guess, Gina, when you're going through, how is the data? Are there any reports that you're currently running in Coursedog frequently, or maybe talk a little bit about that, how data has helped?
Currently, we're not running, or I'm not running any reports as of yet. Right now is a juggling act to make sure that whatever was appearing in Outlook is also on this the Coursedog site as well. But I do use it just about every single minute of the day to make sure that, one, I have all the rooms covered that were being used for that particular day, and also two, I have this fear of double booking something. So the schedule, the reports are definitely going to be great to run later on. And also too, I just saw something that I don't think I knew about, and that was the heat map.
Oh yeah, this is actually, this might be one of our newer features. I think it came out over the past year, so this may have been something that kind of was slipped into an update. But basically, this heat map shows, you know, the distribution of students across the different days and times. So
wow,
you can take a look at this, and obviously, you know, this isn't your data, so this is still sample data, but we could, you know, quickly visualize and show what is the you know, the enrollment ratio across different time slots that you're offering. A lot of times we'll do this even for our prospective customers. We'll walk them through this data analysis, and they'll start to see trends that, you know, they might be fully aware. They know they're offering a lot of classes in the middle of the day, and then it could just drop off towards the end of the day. But they might not be as aware, or as at least it's not always as obvious where the students are actually populating, because there's oftentimes a mismatch of where you know, schools are actually offering classes versus where students are enrolling. There might be a lot of morning classes offered, but maybe those have really low enrollments. Maybe students tend to populate later in the day, or maybe midday is popular. You can start to see those trends and better serve your students and understanding where they're self-selecting to enroll.
So if an institution has all of their registration data in a banner system or Canvas system, it can be exported so that it'll show up on this heat map as well.
Yeah. So we work with a lot of banner schools. You know, all the major SISs we have a real-time integration with. So we actually end up using this as registration monitoring. You can take a look and see in real time where all the different students are populating and what classes are having different enrollment percentages. So right here, this is a very popular dashboard a lot of our customers are starting to use, where you can see a whole list of the overfilled, underfilled, if you have classes with zero enrollment, anything that's above capacity, all these types of things can be monitored in real time. So let's say you open up registration, right? And this is kind of the classic, you open up registration and all of a sudden you have to start shuffling things around because certain classes, you need to add sections or maybe remove sections, consolidate, all those things that create, you know, panic attacks for registrars or people in the scheduling side. Well, with Coursedog, we can actually give you the ability to monitor this. So you can, first of all, and we'll get into this in a minute, but there's a lot of things you can do before you even open registration that will help prevent the need for those last minute shuffles. But it's a given, you're still going to have some things you need to monitor and change. Well, we could take a look at this and say, let's look at all our underfilled sections. This is showing, the real-time enrollment count across those courses and those sections. You could jump in here and you could quickly edit. You could say, let's change the enrollment cap for this course, or let's maybe consolidate it with another section. All these different things that in most SISs, we work a lot. I mean, like I said, my mom was at a banner school, but we work a lot with PeopleSoft, with Genzabar schools, kind of the whole gamut. And I've never once heard anybody say they enjoy doing this in their SIS directly. So
no.
We try to provide an easier way to start to tweak.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty impressive.
One thing too, and I know NYCPM will probably get to this, is you can pull these reports out via CSVs too. So you're not going to get stuck, tied all your data into one system, which is also something to keep an eye out for. You don't want to go with a vendor that's going to make it difficult to run queries on your own data, or to pull it out and run offline reports, or even import it to another tool, which we're totally fine with. You can take your data anytime you want, anywhere you want. And a lot of IT departments love this because they're able to have their customers self-serve data, or their faculty or administrators self-serve reports. So you can jump in here and literally pull a course list, or filter down by a specific department, by rooms, instructors, course, you name it. But all these types of queries that traditionally might be hard, get directly out of here with one click.
Okay.
I guess I know you mentioned like double bookings, right? That's a big headache.
Yes.
And how did that work before Coursedog? Was it just a manual Outlook process, basically?
Yeah, checking all 4 calendars, and not only checking the 4 calendars for the 3 years plus corporate, but then checking all the room calendars to be sure that somebody didn't book something in there. And now it's a beauty, because now with Coursedog, it tells you, hey, you can you get actually a red flag and saying this room is already occupied, so you need to look for something else, and so on. So it's great. It really is. That's awesome. So far, we have not had that issue at all with the new system, which is fantastic.
That's good to hear. Yeah. In part of the way we do that, we have these rules in here, so you can assign any type of logic you want to your policies you want the schedule to follow. And one of those that everybody uses, right, is you don't want to have an instructor book 2 places at once.
Right. So that was for me, that was a little bit daunting. How do you figure out the logic on paper and then translate it into the system? So that Kristen helped me a lot with, and I finally got to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But that was definitely a new learning curve for me.
Awesome. That's good to hear. I know Kristen does an awesome job. She a lot of happy customers with Kristen, so that's good to hear.
Yes, absolutely.
So we get these rules that stream in here, and as far as the different policies that we want to have adhered to, obviously double booked instructors, double booked rooms. There might be other more nuanced things, like maybe you want to make sure that you don't have too many classes offered at certain times. All sorts of things that usually, and I've never seen a case where it was otherwise. This is done manually. The different policies you're following, SIS systems don't usually handle these nuances in the schedule very well. You have to manually check those things over. I see we have a good question just streamed in from Ryan. Can Coursedog integrate with Office 365? So I think this is probably a good case, right? You're using Outlook alongside with Coursedog, right? Maybe talk a little bit about how that's worked, and I can go into some more of the technical side in a minute too. But let's start with NYCPM's experience. How's that been?
Well, since I started using the Coursedog, I've left off. I haven't put a whole lot of new information into the Outlook. It's all on Coursedog, but that would also, whoever may be entering information with Office 365 Outlook, then I'm assuming, or I believe it would be the IT department who can download that information and then get it into Coursedog or send it to you guys for integration, right?
Yeah, so we actually do, and different schools do it differently, but we do have an Outlook integration, and we also can work with a lot of Microsoft products like Active Directory to pull in user data. So we have an integration that will be able to basically sync availability and also move whatever data you have in Outlook or the Microsoft products into Coursedog. So I don't know, Ryan, if there's some specific data that you'd like us to talk through, we can jump in, but high level, we work with a lot of schools that have the ability to move data in and out of Coursedog through our integration.
Okay. I see that Dimitri Bortzman sent in a question.
Yeah, this is a great question. So it's, do we have notification process in place in case of change of event? Do all attendees, all attendees going to be notified of the change?
Yeah. Yes, every single time that there's a change that is made, there is an email notification that goes out to the initiator of that meeting. And if there are additional contact individual on that particular event, they will also get an email as well, a notification that something has changed to that event. Yes,
definitely. Yeah, and that's, and this is Dimitri, how we actually program that out. So we have we talked a little bit about flow charts at the beginning, and basically we take a look at all the different logic and notification processes that you're having today for any approval, right? So NYCPM, you probably had at least, I haven't looked directly at your database. I'm guessing you had a lot of these, right?
Yeah.
Lots of different chains of approval for different types of different types of things.
Yes.
And what we can do is these changes actually do go directly to their calendars. So they would be, you can have different folks. Let's just say, for example, this is, a schedule update, because we have similar workflows on policy manuals, on the catalog, curriculum changes. It all goes through this concept of a flow chart or a workflow. Well, we can assign different folks onto each of these steps. And I'll show how this actually looks as a proposal side in just a moment. But essentially, we're programming in these workflows with different folks in here that have different levels of approval. Maybe someone can edit the request, other people can force approve it. You can turn these different controls on or off. You can send it back to the previous step. You can also set it so they get email notifications. And these, in addition, you'll get a flag, a little notification bell in Coursedog, but a lot of people in higher ed aren't the most tech savvy, and we also don't want to force people to have to learn new tools. So we push it through email wherever we can. So, even my mom, right, not that tech savvy, but she knows how to do email, right? So she can jump in here and we can create these emails that will pull the data that's relevant into their notification. They'll see an update via email. They don't necessarily even need to log into Coursedog. If they do, maybe it's just to log in to click an approval, which will show. But all these notifications can get layered together, and the beauty is Coursedog's handling it, right? You're not going through a manual. All right, I've approved it. I have to stamp it on my desk somewhere else. It's going to handle it in the system, and you can be nuanced about, last minute changes go through one workflow, maybe certain room requests go through another. You can add dynamic steps in here. So it's based off the room or based off the department that's coming from. Super complex business logic can get added into here.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's all no code, right? You're not annoying IT departments or having to get a degree in computer science to figure this out. It's all done through our interface. Once
and I see that Greg has also sent in an inquiry, and where it says, would it make the changes in their calendar?
Definitely. So
yes.
I'll show you how this looks. So basically, Coursedog has, and our goal again is an all-in-one solution. So we have all the instructor availability in here. You can collect preference forms to capture instructor data, preferences they might have, what their availability is, the courses they do or don't want to teach. You can capture all that and manage the responses through here. Well, part of that, you're also able to start to build out on the department level specific schedules for every instructor. So this is an example where we could take a look at our instructors, see all the preferences they've had that they've had entered, all the courses that they're assigned to. We can jump in here and also take a look at their workload report. So if you want to jump in, look at their profile, Here again is that list of courses they're on. We could say their teaching load automatically generate. This can all integrate. We have an Outlook integration, so we can integrate it with the calendars if they wanted. Or if you're managing calendars within Coursedog, it would be native in here too. Totally up to you. But the beauty is all this stuff is happening in real time. So you could have 3 or 4 different people all making schedule changes that might impact a bunch of different places or different folks across the school. Well, you're going to have one real time, reporting tool and also source of truth for all these updates.
Yeah.
And I know, especially for NYCPM, and a lot of I mentioned I work with a handful of chiropractic schools more recently. And we just, I know across Coursedog, we work with a lot of professional schools that have to coordinate fairly, strict curriculum, right? You have pretty much a predetermined program from the moment a student starts to get that degree. There's not a lot of flexibility, right? You have to make sure they can get their clinicals, their lab, all those things, right?
Yes.
Well,
and Ben, also just to backtrack for a moment, with the schedule, with the calendar schedule, Greg was asking, about the signage, and I believe that's referencing the RSS feed.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, so for like a public event? Yeah, let me show you.
Well, to download, say for instance, for us, everything that is scheduled for the week on a weekly basis, he would download the RSS feed from Outlook, and that would be populated into the monitors throughout the school. So I know that we've been working with Kristen on that, but we haven't, I think, finalized on the whole process on that. With the RSS feed, but I know that he's still very interested in that whole process.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So that's, I think we'd have to look and probably talk more offline with Kristen about the exact structure of that data and how you need it to pass. But I personally have worked with a couple of cases where we've actually populated signage across campus. So I think that the way that there's a few ways to do that. If you wanted to build something in Coursedog, we do have a public site for events that generates that would probably at least give you a public facing, all the events. Nothing in here right now, but you can see the events that are populating. This would generate a public site that you could pull up on an external monitor. But if you have your own program already, what we could also do is you can create these event reports. So if you want to pull a report on all the events happening a certain time of day or a certain day, you could do the breakdown by room or however you'd like to do it.
Okay.
You could probably take it as a CSV file and then use that to populate your third-party signage tools or whatever you're using there. But we could take a look at that and this is something that it varies widely by customer, but we've helped a lot of schools in those types of situations where they have not necessarily a live integration. They want to be able to port the data out themselves and do things to it. That's totally fine.
Okay, great, thank you.
So a couple other things just quickly on the scheduling side. I see, another question came in. Does Coursedog have flexibility to follow HIPAA rules? For example, one requirement would be for the software needs timeout after 4 minutes. So we can do things on the security side like timeouts. For HIPAA specifically, we don't actually touch a lot of student specific definitely we don't touch sensitive personal PII data. So HIPAA specifically hasn't been an issue for us in the past. That being said, I think we could dive in deeper and take a look. We have a lot of security credentials, and we actually are starting in some of the Coursedog campus products that Justin mentioned at the beginning, where we're starting to touch student data on workflows for certain forms. So we definitely have the credentials to do it. We haven't historically done a lot of work there. I'm not familiar with HIPAA specifically, but I believe we'd be able to probably put those specific requirements in place. I know a lot of the security is up to a fairly high standard, and we've been able to work with a lot of system schools that had a lot of closely guarded data. Let's see. Yeah. Awesome. So let's say, for example, I think maybe it could be helpful to show the scheduling view here. If you're actually in the schedule now, right? So here's that breakdown, right? This is showing in a bunch of different sections. instructors, the days of the week these courses are offered, the rooms they're in. Well, if you're doing the manual route, right, before, if you had to figure out who to assign to a course, you probably had to make sure they weren't already booked, check their calendars, reference a lot of different data. Coursedog, you just click a button and it's going to show you all the instructors in that department, their preference fit, because remember, we're catching their preferences. So we know if they're a good fit for this course, if they're qualified, all that data can be in here. And we also see if there's any conflicts. So the beauty is you're basically, rather than referencing and doing all that work of like, you kind of have to have extreme attention to detail in some of these cases.
Yeah.
Looking at a lot of data. It consolidates it in one spot. You're just going to click, done. We just assigned an instructor, and this again can sync directly, with everyone's calendars. It'll update in their SIS. It'll update their availability, so they're not going to get double booked. You can also do the same thing for rooms. So rooms, super easy, right? We can filter down by room types. Those lecture halls that are really popular for NYCPM, you can make sure those are as efficiently utilized as possible. You can see the capacities, preference fits, all this can be built in here.
Yes, absolutely. Ben, there's a question that came in from Joanna Crafty, and I think she sent it through your.
Yep, I see that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So 4th year at NYCPM, students have individualized schedule where each goes to completely different hospital externships and also maybe scheduled in 4 different clerkships. Can you create a schedule which indicates where each student is going for their externship, clerkship, and where they are in a given hour, day, month, because it is dynamic? So this is a great question. And this is something a lot of, every customer of ours has a lot of these similar types of situations where you have very nuanced and very specific schedules you have to build out, right? A couple of ways that we help with this. First of all, the data model is very flexible. So let's say on our sections, for example, or our courses, we wanted to add a field, basically to designate, if this is a clerkship or if it's not a clerkship, if it's a specific program. A lot of our professional schools use cohorts. You'll basically designate cohorts and assign that as a filter. But basically the first step is we're going to look at your data and say, what kind of data. We're no longer limited by what you have in your SIS, right? We can actually add fields and start adding more filters and things that aren't going to break in your SIS, right? The pre-built fields we have in here are great. We can also build custom fields to start filtering on. And if you go in here, you can set, character limits and different disallowed characters, all the little technical things that can break an SIS system and create people to start tracking stuff outside of their SIS. We can make sure it's going to be compliant. It's going to work well. So that's step 1. Step 2 is we'll figure out those fields you need to do those filters on, and we'll actually help you start to build the schedule around them. So in this example, right, you probably are having certain cohorts, right, that go to certain clerkships or externships, or maybe you need to have a block where you don't want courses to overlap with them, right? You don't want to have someone having a core requirement at the same time they're also at their externship.
Right.
So you can build different blocks in here where, let's say we're going to go back to our section editor. Let's say we built out a block that says this is our externship block, and you want to go in here into course info, or sorry, in right here, we'll open up our section. We can actually build relationships between different things. So let's say this is our core requirement. We don't want to have overlapping with any externships. But we can link it and say, let's say if we had an externship, let's say this was it, programmed in here. Well, we can say we want these 2 courses to basically be offered at different times. So this way they're not going to overlap, and you'll be sure that those externships aren't scheduled the same time as the course itself. Now, as you add many, many, many different layers of these and multiple cohorts, and it can start to get pretty complex. And that's why Coursedog can really shine here to help you build that schedule without constantly having to double check all those different nuances. What Coursedog doesn't do is we don't actually touch the student level information. So we're not going to show you, what a specific student's doing. But for our professional schools, usually tracking on the cohort level is enough, because you're building that into the schedule from the beginning, where that certain students going through certain cohorts will have these external requirements. You can block those out, and so that way you have those that's built into the schedule from the beginning. So hopefully that helps answer the question.
I think, Ben, that Joanna is looking for a schedule, yes, but specific to the, say, for instance, the clerkship can last anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. And so you have X number of students doing that first clerkship, and then 8 weeks later, that's going to be turned over by another 10 students and so on. So it's almost like, where is Mr. Rodriguez today? That we won't be able to display on this because of the HIPAA rules, correct?
Well, so it's not necessarily a HIPAA item. It's actually more, we just don't today. We don't touch the student level information. So usually once registration happens, we'll look at the kind of the macro trends. We don't actually look at this specific student is in this spot. Right. We'll look at cohort. So we can build filters and look at the cohort level data, but we don't generate like a student level schedule unless they're part of a larger cohort that we have a filter in here for.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's something too. A lot of times it's handled in an SIS, or there's other tools like natively built into the registration process, and we don't do registration. We just help monitor it. That might be able to help, but we could dive into maybe a deeper view of what you guys need and see if maybe there's a custom field we could build somewhere in the system to help you at least get to where you need to go. But yeah, that's an important distinction. Coursedog doesn't touch the student level data. So I know sometimes people reach out to us looking for like a student registration tool or something that will help an individual student build a schedule. We're more, everything upstream of that. So everything in the planning phase, building out the schedule itself, and actually creating the way that you can have these degree paths is important, but we don't take it the extra step of actually looking at a specific individual student yet.
Okay.
So another question came in: for how long the data remains in your database? Historical purposes, can we review and access data a year old? And when will we have it? So really great question. And this is another way that I think Coursedog becomes really powerful. Most SIS systems, you're kind of looking at one semester at a time. Really difficult to start looking at historical data. Really hard to have an audit trail and understand what changed when and things like that. Well, all that's solved with Coursedog, right? You can jump in here, and if we just go to our section editor, I was showing you one semester, but you can literally have infinite number of terms forward or backwards in time. So
and that's one beauty of this. And the second beauty is that we absolutely love is that in comparison with Outlook, we were limited to 6 months booking out, and with Coursedog, I have stuff going out to 2025.
That's awesome. That's good.
I love it.
That's so good to hear. Yeah, and this is great because imagine if you can start thinking, 5 years out, which is unheard of, right?
Yeah.
You can start planning, not just your resources, but think about, if instructors are retiring or you're going to be hiring, you can start to plan more than just one semester at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really big. And another thing too, so obviously you can hop between semesters, start building out your tentative schedules into the future. Also reference the older ones, but on a section level, we also give you the ability to actually look at the individual section, and this is big.
Cool.
Where you can actually start to see, where was enrollment over time? How many sections did we offer? Was there a wait list? What was the capacity of the enrollment? All this stuff. Again, my mom had access to this as a banner school through an Argos report, but it was in an Excel version. And so she didn't really, she had these pages and pages of Excel documents that all the faculty were kind of on their own to make sense of when they're doing the scheduling process at her school. And it wasn't very actionable data. Our goal at Coursedog, we're going to give you this data. You're going to get all the data you need, but we're also going to make it in a format that's actually actionable and that is actually useful, not just stacks of Excel sheets where you can certainly export those into Excel if you needed it, but at least this is, gives you another way to start interacting with that data.
With the information that is stored in Coursedog, is there a feature where you can archive like 5 years back? That way, when you open up the drop-down menu, you're getting more of a current, maybe 4 years.
Yeah, definitely. So you can, I mean, you can go as far back as you'd like. So there's no limit to what you have, and you can keep the more recent ones in your saved reports. So
Okay.
you know, it's kind of up to you, but yeah, we usually, you know, probably more data is better than less. So we always encourage, you know, get everything loaded into Coursedog.
Right.
If you're only looking at it, you know, the more I'll probably spend most of your time on the current or future stuff, that's fine, but at least it's in there. Now you have a source of truth for all this reporting.
Great. Great. Okay. Wonderful.
Awesome. Well, we have just a few minutes left, and I want to make sure we're getting to everybody's questions and
Yes.
keeping this useful. So if there are any final questions, feel free to raise your hand or post those at this time. And, you know, I guess in conclusion, as we wait for any last questions to come in, hopefully this was helpful. You know, there's a lot more under the hood in Coursedog. You know, we've just kind of scratched the surface of scheduling, and as I'm sure Gina knows, there's a lot that Coursedog does.
Yeah.
Our real goal here is let's just simplify all of those you know, stacks of PDFs and paper processes and just meetings on meetings on meetings for curriculum approvals, for catalog updates, for scheduling different events and resources. Like, we want to make that whole process easier and do it in a way that you know, is intuitive, fun, even can be fun, right? And also give you good data while you're doing it, so you can start to understand, you know, what's going on campus. And let's like remove those extra steps of doing tons of data entry and you know, sleepless nights of like horror stories in Excel and things like that.
Absolutely.
One, we didn't do a ton on events. Just one quick thing I wanted to show here. We do have ability to start managing resources, so you can have, you know, different rooms could be requested. You could have students in here at a portal, you know, requesting rooms for study space, or instructors requesting rooms with certain attributes. You can go through, you know, public forums and all sorts of really cool tools under the hood here. Full resource management and inventory tracking, all built in. And again, this all will sync with your SIS in real time. So it becomes pretty powerful. But I think that's probably all we have time to get through today. But Gina, any I guess we've got about another minute left. Any closing remarks, or if you had to give any parting advice to anyone on the call today, I guess what would you like to deliver? Yeah.
I highly recommend a Coursedog. It would make the scheduling person's a dream come true in streamlining the entire process. Really, it is very easy to learn, easy to teach. What is daunting is gathering the data and funneling it into Coursedog and so on, and you know, getting everybody on board to really buy into this product, because yeah, everybody is maybe hesitant to change, but once they see the final product, it's like, why didn't we do this much sooner? So, yeah,
that's a good parting words.
yes.
One last thing I'll add, and before we close things down here, is we do have that data analysis available for everyone on today's call. Just go to hicoursedog.com/data, which I'll post. You can request an analysis through here, and also I'll post my email right now as well. Feel free to reach out, and if you do want to get your data loaded in, see all those different types of reports that we mentioned, and have some of those examples here. But all these are completely free, and we want to help empower schools to have better data and to, you know, help alleviate those headaches. Even if you're not a customer, we'd be really happy to you know, to do this for you. So feel free to reach out if we could do any help on the data side. Also, we'll distribute a copy of this webinar. It'll be up on our website. I think later today, in the next 24 hours, you'll see it posted on our website.
That's
Gina,
great. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
It's great to put a face to the name. You know, NYCPM is a cherished customer of ours. So thank you so much for taking the time and for sharing their story.
Glad to have done it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And thank you everyone for joining. Lots of people on today's presentation. It's great to see a large turnout. So thank you again for everyone.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
You.
Can't thank you enough.
Okay.